Oh, just go ahead. Just let me know when it's going.
And it's going.
The Deplorable Choir was so good. It was
Oh.
so good, dude.
It's funny because I showed
So good.
Josh that and he goes, "Oh yeah,
Yeah.
this is kind of funny. It's a bit, obviously, right?" And I was like, "No,
Hmm.
those are real people." And he was like, "No, that's not a real thing. Nobody made that song with genuine sincerity."
So
It's great. It's the
it's like another
deplorable choir.
reminder, and like it's not that it's new to human beings to have blind faith and just trust in something, obviously, but like it's just another thing where I'm like, literal lyrics in this song clash with actual policy from this administration, and I'm just like,
Yeah.
what are you talking about? They're like, we don't care if you're trans. I'm like, what? They
I
can't
know.
even
I
like
was
serve. I'm
very
like,
surprised by that.
see, and this is what is crazy. Like, this is we've now. I don't want to be hyperbolic, so I'm not going to be. But like, we live. Human beings have always been like, I don't know, cognitive. They've always had selective cognitive dissonance about things, like based on when it's been in history and like what it's been about.
Mhm.
But like, I promise you, if you talk to these girls and actually said to them, like, well, what about the trans ban in the military? They would come up, they would like, there'd be some talking point or like something that they'd heard or even their own ideas that would be like, oh, no, 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 we love all those people, but like, oh, yeah, yeah, we're not gonna like let that happen. But like that makes sense. You know what I'm saying? And like, they'd say
Right.
something like, my best guess would be they'd say something like, oh, they don't mix in well with like, non-trans or whatever.
It
Like, oh, you
does.
can't serve. It's just it's
I no, I'm
gross
totally
stuff,
with you,
dude.
but it is in
Yeah,
some very small way at least a point of progress that they felt the need to make that a lyric in their song. In
I
very
agree with
small
that.
minor
I do
way.
agree with that. I do agree with that. I actually do agree with that. And I
Right.
think a lot of on a bigger scale, really quickly, and then I'll digress. I think that a lot of this feels weird. At least in my opinion, a lot of this feels weird because to me, a lot of this is like the last grips of pre-internet society. Internet has changed how we interact, what we do, and it's permanent change. Whether we think
Yeah.
it's good or bad, it's permanent change. And there's going to be the internet is such a game-changing thing that like if humanity makes it for a while, it's going to look back to like pre and post-internet, no doubt, no
Oh
doubt about
yeah,
it.
no, that'll be a very
And
defining moment.
so I think a lot of what we're experiencing, not just with Trump, but like a lot of things in society, is just like coming to grips with like, a lot of it's like the last grips of old power, like coming to
And it's
grips with
death
things that are
throes.
changing, and
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying. And anytime you get upheaval, you're gonna get scapegoats, So
Yeah.
this is an
I
interesting time to be alive.
It is. It is.
So
We came to our adolescence as the internet came to
came
the
of age,
public
right?
platform. Because the
Right.
internet's been around, but it was
Right.
really popularized in the late 2000s. Like 2009, I
Right.
would say, is when it really started picking up. Especially with the advent of Facebook. That's when people
Mm.
started really getting
When it
involved with the internet.
the You're correct. We should say the more like readily available, like the availability of it.
Mm-hmm.
Like once it's become so widespread, it's like
Well, too, you also
such
had
a
like an
disruptive thing.
yeah, you had an older generation though that did not want to use it until all of their friends were on Facebook
Well,
because
and
they were
look,
like, "Well, I guess I'll check it out if my friends are on there," and then there you go. That's when it
agreed.
really
But
got
let's be
popularized.
fair. Like
The
mass
boomers.
communication has been being developed for more than just the internet. So there's no question that just because they're boomers, that doesn't mean that they actually experienced a lot more change than generations before them. Do you know what I'm saying? So it compounds, and every generation next, like it gets changes quicker and quicker. Society. I just think that like the internet is actually going to be something that like they're not going to look back and be like, oh, like they went from record to 8 track. What a huge that's not going to be a moment. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like internet's going to be an actual like
It'll be
cultural.
printing
It'll
press.
probably
Sorry,
be
it'll
an
be spoken
industrial
language.
revolution.
It'll be printing press.
I don't know if it'll be on the same level of spoken language. Well,
What?
you know
Of
what?
course.
No, yeah,
Absolutely.
maybe
I
yeah, I think you're right.
100%
I think.
think that.
How about this? The availability of it too marries into that. But yes, once all that's
Yeah,
Like
the internet
having,
had to be a
yeah,
tool that most
digital,
everybody used before it really had an impact
right,
on.
or can use, right.
Right. So I guess we're not, even in that sense, we're not really there yet, are we? There's a large part of this
No,
world
but
that
we're
isn't connected.
definitely in the early throes
Yeah.
of it. But all right, we digress. That was from the deplorable choir to some deep shit. Okay, let's
I can't believe that
oh,
jumping
I
off point was a
did you
deplorable
see
choir.
that? Did you ever see that where I shared Democrats introduced constitutional amendment to overturn Citizens United?
I did see that. I actually saw that
So,
shortly before you brought it up on BBC, no less, which is
okay.
interesting.
So it's just been said a lot of times, and I'm not pegging anybody, even me, for like supporting Democrats, okay? But it's not what I'm here to do.
Yeah,
But
bro.
it's been said many times, communist is what I am. It's been said many times on this cast from all three of us that like some serious reform needs to be done in the way of campaign finance and how
100%.
that works. And so, for what it's worth, it's not both parties necessarily doing everything to stop it. That's not to say the Democrats are doing everything they should be. They're not. But um,
I think, though.
they introduced something. And hey, for what it's worth, the shootings happened over the weekend, and Democrats came right out and they were like, hey, we passed this background check bill a couple months ago. And I Googled it, I think yesterday, because I heard that.
In the
And they're
House.
correct. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
that
it's
doesn't
sat there
surprise
and
me.
hasn't been,
Dead on
nothing's been
arrival.
done.
Oh, they didn't even vote on it. Probably Mitch probably just refused to even bring it to the floor. Good old Moscow Mitch.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, apparently the people are trying to popularize that. So that's me. I did my bit. There you go.
Yeah. Yeah, one party
Yeah,
doing
but do you
something.
think this is not going to pass?
What?
This also isn't
Oh, no.
that a
Oh, hell no.
ruling on a
It's a
specific
constitutional amendment.
case?
You need to have
How-
like 2/3 of states ratify that and shit. Like that's.
But how
pretty
can the
crazy.
states? How can they pass any sort of legislation that overturns a constitutional decision on?
A Supreme Court decision? Because you make a
Yeah.
constitutional amendment. You literally amend the Constitution. That's how
Oh.
you add it to the Constitution. Because obviously they ruled it was unconstitutional. Well, now
They ruled it.
you just
Yeah.
add it
Well, they
to the Constitution.
they said
But
it
to
was
do that, you
protected.
need a 2/3, I believe.
Oh, so it's never gonna happen. Is that what you're saying?
Right.
That it's
yeah.
never going to happen? Because
There
the
you
only
go.
thing that passes, like,
I do see.
at all these days is 51, or just over 50%.
I do another spitball thing, but this is a spitball record, obviously.
Spit it out. Dude.
I do see.
Let it dribble down your
potential.
chest.
Oh my. I do see potential for in the future having some pretty radically different policies as far as the federal and the state level as far as coming to campaign finance.
Right.
You can probably already find a few examples of the state level being vastly different, and I'd just be interested in studies being done and what the effects were, and because at the end of the day, like, if we can't trust anything, then we got nothing. We got to at least be able to like fucking crunch the numbers, do some studies,
Right.
Hey, this is,
Yeah.
so
Well,
we'll see.
the thing
We'll
is,
see.
you're optimistic for any sort of nuanced, honest conversation about
Yeah, it's not gonna happen.
anything political in this country.
It's all
And
about sound
that's-
bites.
Yeah, it doesn't look great. Yeah, it doesn't look great for you.
You're not a puppet. You're the puppet. You're the puppet. Such a nasty woman. Sound bites, dude. I was just kind of saying that because sound bites came up. But like, yeah. Well, did you watch any of the
Our
Democratic
election
debates?
is
I watched
run
both
on
nights for
sound
Bernie. And the other nights
I watched
but
all of the first night, and I watched
it's not a
bits
debate.
of the second night. It's not.
It's not
It
a
is
debate.
sound
It's
bait
like
central.
It's who right, and that doesn't necessarily mean you can't make good policy into bite-sized sound bites that pop. But like that's a specific skill.
I
Like, you
wrote the
can't
damn
just
bill.
Dude, I saw polls that came out, especially after this last one last week. I saw polls that came out that like ranked how each Democrat did and like if their favorability or unfavorability went up or down with Democrats after the debate. And John Delaney went up 2% in favorability and went down like 40% in unfavorability.
What? Oh my
Did
god.
you watch
It
it?
doesn't surprise me. He looked like a
Dude, all
turd
it
out
was
there.
was. Did you watch it?
I
It doesn't
did,
sound like.
yeah.
Oh, you did. All it was him just like being like, "Yo, that's when
We
that's
can't
the."
do
It
this.
was
Dude,
him. It
Warren
was him
got him.
talking. Yeah, it was him talking when Warren got him.
That's right.
Right. It's like, what are
I
you
don't
doing
understand
here?
why somebody goes to the trouble of running for
Ooh, that was
president
pretty
just to
good.
talk about what we can't
That's
do
pretty
or
good.
fight for. And dude,
That's pretty good.
his face when she said that and the audience just like erupted, it was great. Cuz like
Yeah.
I mean, I get where he's coming from. He's saying, "Hey, we have to be a bit more
No,
moderate,
he's.
otherwise Trump's going to win again." But I don't believe that
I
to be
disagree.
true. I don't
I
think that's
disagree.
true.
I think that's true for some things, not other things.
I don't think that's
And
generally true.
no, I don't think that's generally.
I think if you build
Um,
bigger things and you go for bigger things, you're going to do better than if you were to just sort of try and stay in the middle lane. That's because that's what Clinton was. She was just a representative of, hey, here's like us being moderate and not really, rocking the boat too much. And she fucking lost to one of the worst candidates that the GOP has ever put up. Full stop. Amazing.
Your boy's hot take right now is
get it out.
so
Well, it's
Biden's still
hot.
doing well in the polls. Bernie's still doing well in the polls as well.
Mm-hmm.
It's been remarkably pretty steady for a lot of candidates, except for Buttigieg made a little bit of a pop, but he didn't go that high, and he came right back down. Harris popped a little bit after the first debate, but has been coming back down. The only other candidate, Elizabeth Warren, has made incredible, like just steady gains.
Yeah.
Steady gains. And here's my hot take. I just don't think Biden will get the nomination for something. Like, there's something, he's not going to make it. You know what I'm saying? And I think that the happy medium between Biden and Bernie people is Elizabeth Warren.
It might be.
Someone who talks in the way she talks guarantees that she's a capitalist and guarantees that as far as intense structural change, like she's not as out there as Bernie, but she does pretty much go check mark for check mark on Bernie on issues and what to do about them.
Yeah.
But she just articulates it in a way that's like, and look, this is the skill of being a politician, right? She articulates it in a way that like makes it make sense and makes it agree. I feel like more with like
Bernie's not terrible at it, but I do agree that Warren's better.
I think Bernie's great. I don't like. I also admit that I have a bias, and we all have our own thought process. Do you know what I'm saying? Like my comments on Warren are not because I like Bernie the best. You kidding me? I'd want Bernie. I don't give a shit. But that doesn't mean I'm not also aware. Because like I have no pull towards Biden. I'm okay with Warren. No doubt, no doubt.
Yeah,
I would vote I'm for just Warren. Obviously all my opinion, but yeah, my read is that Warren would do a pretty good job of like.
So are you saying that she?
And actually,
you were pretty convinced that Biden was going to clinch the nomination. Have you now changed on that position?
Well, no, that's based off polling.
Yeah, but
and he's actually bounced back in polling. Polling has been. We have a lot more polling than ever. Like ever since the end of the Obama era in like 2016, just Trump coming in and. No question about it, because of the way Trump is, he makes politics the center of the universe now. Mm-hmm. And so because of that, it's just so everybody's focused and exactly.
You're right.
And I've been following polling for a long time, and like it was leading up to 2016 where like polling exploded. And now since we have so many polls, I just feel like it's more accurate. It takes the temperature better, and like we don't see as much volatility. There's correlation still. Like Kamala Harris was doing pretty well after the first debate because she zinged Biden, which is all it's about. It's not about policy.
Here's my thing, though. I think Biden has he's capitalized on a good core chunk of those older Democrats who are a bit more moderate.
Mm-hmm.
But there's so many that aren't like that.
Yeah, well,
when you get Biden out of there, like how many people are going to primary? When Bernie was primarying against Hillary, how many other people?
It was just them two. That was just them two.
That's what I'm saying. So I think that it's going to get narrowed down between Biden and someone else, and that someone else will take it. That's what I think. As long as it's Warren.
I don't disagree with that take. I
Buttigieg could
think
do it. I think
here's the
Sanders
thing.
might be able to do it.
Here's the thing. I
Maybe not
do not
Buttigieg.
think Bernie is going to leave the race. No question about it until like the same thing he did last time with Hillary. Like it's going to be late. Well, no, actually, he ran until the end, I think. But
Yeah, he was always
he's
behind.
just got support that doesn't unwavering, that doesn't leave him. Okay.
Yeah.
And I just did you see yo? Did you see? So the New York Times online posted this interactive map of where, and this is once again the world we live in is just politics center stage. So we get cool data now like this, which is crazy. New York Times, um, public, Democratic donor information. They just overlaid on a map to show like who's donating from where for each campaign, right?
Okay,
So
sure.
like, there's a hot spot in Minnesota. Who do you think that's for? Klobuchar. Okay. There's a hot spot in Texas. It's for Beto.
Oh, of course.
In the Beto.
In the
There is. But
yeah.
in like the Northeast, in all the empty gaps, like from coast to coast, all the rural areas, like who do you think was getting the most small dollar donations and the most people just spread across the country?
Yeah. Well,
It is your one young Bernard Sanders.
your firebrand.
Literally, and let me
energetic.
finish, and then I'll let you have your
Wrote the
point.
damn bill.
Literally to the point where I'm not kidding. Literally to the point where they had a second interactive map where it took away Bernie's data, so you could compare everybody
Jesus Christ.
on a map.
That's amazing. Bernie's good at grassroots, and they learned a lot in 2016.
He going to hang around. This is a long slugfest.
Yeah,
No
I've donated a good chunk to Bernie, although I keep getting the emails.
Yeah, I've donated like 3 times already.
Yeah, same, because I keep getting the goddamn emails, and I'm like, all right, Bernie.
Well, and plus every time I go on, it's like $27, and then I do it, and then it's like, oh, like you've donated X amount of money, like you can still donate this X amount. And I'm like,
right.
All right, cool. Like, come hit me in another month.
You know what though? His average
Start to
donation
build it into
this
my
time
bills.
has been lower. I think it's been about 17 or 18, something like that.
Dude, all you gotta do, especially if you're talking to a bunch of younger people who might lean a certain way, all you gotta do is be like, listen, commit to a political party, X amount of dollars a month. It could be $5, $10, $20, because we don't have unions anymore. So we might as well like fucking use the government. Do you know what I'm saying? And like, hey, everybody pick someone, commit some money so we can fight back. Would never work though.
No.
Too much planning and organization.
And misinformation. That's a different conversation.
Well, okay. Yeah, that's aggressively in a different
misinformation, area. The information age. It's a paradox, Cyril. All right? I wouldn't expect you to understand it.
Let's see. What else do we have in here? The Janine Pirro thing. But I feel like we talked about that already.
Well, we could talk about the shootings.
Well, not here, but...
We could talk about... I
don't really want to talk about that.
Yeah, it's kind of a very
discouraging
type of conversation.
So what I wrote, USA mass shootings happen. President. Wow, look what video games and mental illness does.
Oh, God. You know what I saw, though?
Pikachu meme. Mouth open. Yeah.
So I was talking to a certain somebody about this, and they were like...
That's not HD Pikachu meme. Go ahead.
I did see that. That's high quality, dog.
I know I did that.
I was talking to one certain person, and they were like, this is bullshit. Why doesn't Trump do anything? And it's like, well, listen, it's not that easy. Don't forget that Sandy Hook happened under Obama. If we couldn't get legislation to pass when a bunch of elementary school kids got murdered, nothing's going to change unless something
100% agree.
Monumental happens. At least in the money structure.
When they asked why doesn't he do something, did they do it in the context of let's get legislation done? Because you're right, that's not going to happen. It's much harder. You know what he could do, and where I lose respect for him, I bet you do, and a lot of people do, even if you support him. It's when he uses his Twitter and his language in other areas to do whatever he wants. And then all of a sudden, when it comes to this, like, why don't you full-throatedly come out and just hammer away at the message of like background checks, background checks, background checks? No, you won't do it because I promise you the Republican Party is whispering in your ear to the right and left of you, or even advisors saying, we get a lot of money from these people. We get a lot of money from these people.
They don't want us to move.
You know what they're saying? They're not saying to deny it. They're not saying to not say background checks. Like he said a couple times background checks and all these things. But what they're doing is they're trying to thread a needle. And it's there's no integrity behind it. None. Except for the money flowing in. They're trying to throw a needle. They're trying to thread a needle between like, how do we not alienate people to try to make them think we're going to do something, to try to acknowledge that like, hey, maybe we see the polls that where 90% of Americans agree with just general background checks, which is true.
Universal background.
But then how do we also not anger the NRA and not just the NRA, gun manufacturers, anybody who has a vested interest? They're trying to thread the needle. And like I said, let me just say it one more time. The proof is in he doesn't care. When it comes to his own personal interest, he will use his Twitter and his verbiage to do whatever the fuck he wants. Then all of a sudden, when it's time to do the right thing, he's measured. That doesn't make sense. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say, do you think this is why they've brought up video games? Because it just changes the conversation. So instead of talking about universal background checks and reasonable licensing or whatever the fuck, we're talking about like how ridiculous is it that they're trying to link video games and shootings. It's like we've moved the conversation from where it should be to just being outraged about a side note.
Mm-hmm. If we act like someone, especially someone like Trump, and I'm not even exaggerating, I mean, I guess these are like reports and things I've read, but they're from reputable sources, right? Like the Times, the Post, a lot of people have reported over the years. And I think we all get the feeling from our common sense, like Trump doesn't read. Trump isn't nuanced. So if you don't think the Trump administration just hands around talking points, either from like lobbyists or just internally, and somehow those points get to Trump, like I've seen Trump react on Twitter or even just an impromptu, like in front of reporters, because he fucking sucks his own dick and loves to be in front of reporters. I've seen him react a certain way that was like actually heartfelt, and there's a human being in there with a heart. And then like an hour or two later, when he goes behind closed doors and comes back out, all of a sudden it's video games. And it's like, but wait a minute. You just this morning walked out, probably before anybody could get to your ear. And this is how malleable and such a fucking spineless bitch he is.
Oh,
before anybody can get to... All right, is he not?
Let him know. Let him know.
Go on,
no, please. I didn't mean to interrupt.
You don't disagree? Yeah, well.
Just saying.
But still, like, come on, yo. And then all of a sudden you disappear. By the way, this doesn't just apply to Trump. It applies to a lot of people in power. All right,
you're absolutely right.
I'm just saying for this, yeah.
Because like you react,
you disappear behind a closed door. You come back out with your needle thread fucking talking points.
Because they're like, how do we very carefully navigate the field of politics instead of
and don't tell me you don't hear a soundbite from the administration, and not just from the administration, any politician, and like think to yourself like that sounds like you're threading a needle of like bullshit and like it happens all the time. You can tell when they tiptoe. I know you can. And it's dumb. And then I think one of the things that Trump has going for him is he feels genuine to a lot of people. And I think there's a lot of stupid reasons they feel that way. But one like logical one to me is that like he does sometimes like let it slip. And then all of a sudden, a couple hours later, behind closed doors and coming back out, it's video games. And you're like, all right, dude, like, come on, yo.
Well, I mean, that's exactly what it is. It's exactly what it is. Because then he gets a bunch of people talking into his ear. And he's brought back into the realm of political chess. And you have to be very careful. And you go back out and you rephrase and you carefully reword. And you backtrack a bit. And then all of a sudden we've got our narrative. Instead of just like, hey, how does this make you feel? What do you think we should do about it? Because you can definitely tell. You can tell when he's talking straight from the gut. And you can tell when he's talking with like that calculation in mind. Those are two very different Donald Trumps. Especially when he's reading from what are they called? Those little scrolling screens of text where you just sort of read your speech off. Teleprompter. Is that the one? That's the one. So I'm with you. I'm definitely with you.
Yeah.
Because you could see it. You could see it when he had his little military parade march bullshit on the 4th in D.C. Did you watch that? Did you listen to that speech at all?
No, I don't care.
He was very careful. He was very calculated. because you don't want to politicize it. You can't politicize it. You want to keep the focus on the military and not about current politics.
But you're still threading the needle.
But you are threading the needle. The thing is, if he were to just shoot from the gut and talk there, I know that speech comes out way different. Way different. If there was no teleprompter there and he was just kind of just like talking. Oh, man. Oh, my God. But yeah,
because when he's just talking, there's only one thing that motivates Donald Trump.
Go on.
And that's anything that makes or looks or like gives him an opportunity to be seen in like in any way, not even a positive way. Like Trump loves Trump. So like that's why he doesn't I don't actually think like he like hates anybody or is racist. He just like ends up dividing people because like literally if you don't sniff his asshole directly into your nostrils, then he's like, fuck you, you're a piece of shit. Like he doesn't like people who aren't on his team. That's what it's all about.
Yes, to some extent, but I do also believe he has some.
He's not a racist.
He has racist tendencies, 100%.
All right, well,
come on, man. Have you not seen all of the
for sure
the things that he said before he became president? Now, obviously, it's like hearsay from people around him, but man, where there's smoke, there's fire.
Listen, fine. You're right.
He's a little bit of a racist.
So and when you exactly when you throw a spectrum in there and you talk about him being like lightly, like then fine, I accept that.
It's there,
but it's not like he's not some freaking. He just loves him. He just anything that has to do with making him look good. It's all about him.
That's I do believe that his primary motivation is Donald Trump.
Oh, it is. Right.
I agree. I think his secondary motivation is people loving Donald Trump, but it's in that order. You see what I mean? Like number one, he's worried about
So he'll do
Trump.
things for himself, and then he'll do things for others that love himself.
Right. Yep. That's it.
Right.
Look at that.
There you go. Those are literally the two things that motivate him.
Hey, CAG, keep America great. You know what I mean?
So, did you see? He went and did a speech at like some like young what is it? Turning Point. It's some like young adult.
Turning Point USA.
Yeah, Turning Point USA. Yeah.
Yep.
So he did, and then like before he came on for the speech, they did like this 10-minute video.
Yes.
Of like his greatest hits, and it was all just like his asshole like. Nobody is proud of this moments. It's like, oh no. Like,
wait, what do you mean nobody is proud of these moments? What did they play?
Dude, they were running like him calling Hillary a nasty woman and cheering and stuff. And you're just like, dude, like there is so many people that I know and I surround myself with, unfortunately, that I am related to that like enjoy serious discussion. And even to some extent, like just any discussion, right? But like nobody, just like the personal attacks that people are reveling in, I just don't. I take no enjoyment in it. I don't know how anybody does. I don't know what the enjoyment is in sitting in an argument with someone and he just keeps sniffing like he just did a fucking line of blow behind the wall right before the debate. And just repeating over and over again, just nasty woman. And no puppet, you're the puppet. No puppet, you're the puppet. Like, really? This is what we're here doing? Come on.
USA. Listen. I get the appeal of it, though. I get the appeal of it, though, because people see it as not political calculation. They think of it as it's not somebody mincing their words and trying to navigate the field. Even though he still does that all the time, they see those moments as moments.
He does more so now that he's actually president.
Right, exactly.
Right.
And they don't care anymore because it's their boy. Now they're just like in with him. They don't care. They don't care that
because he provides he provides that like space of if you are a Trump supporter, then like we're through this until like you know what I'm saying, like till we die, baby, like thick and thin, baby, like you know.
You got Trump 2020, and then you got Eric Trump 2024, 2028, and then you got Donald Jr. 2032, 2036. Then we'll throw Ivanka in there 2040, 2044.
It is impressive. And we'll leave it right on this last discussion. I'd love to hear what you think of this. It is impressive, especially in an area of a world like Reddit. It is impressive the microcultures that are rapidly built and toppled or change just in the internet age and online. So the Donald.
I
was hitting up the Donald since its infancy when he was running for president. Like,
Yeah.
I've been hooked to Reddit since like 2014.
Oh,
You
it's
know what I'm saying?
fascinating.
Like,
It's fascinating. In
no
there.
doubt. And so we always,
It's soul sucking, but
if we ever get anybody to care, one of our T-shirts will have the quote.
go on. What's a T-shirt?
I'm having spacey moments tonight.
How about
Oh, it's a quote you always use. Damn it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It's not. Causation does not. No, correlation does not mean causation.
No.
That's the one that came to mind first. I didn't think that was the one you were talking about.
No. Fuck me.
Um.
Spacey tonight.
Yeah, apparently.
Anyways, what was the original point? Damn it.
The original point was you keep the pulse on the Donald and
Oh,
microcosms.
and
on
so
the
early. Oh yeah, keep your finger on the pulse. Damn it, that's what I was gonna say.
Oh, that is the one because you gotta keep your finger on the
Jesus
pulse.
Christ. I gotta stop smoking meth. Anyways, no, early on there was 50% decent. Like, I can tell like this is a regular person who is genuine, like grassroots, like has an interest in Donald Trump. Can have a conversation. Can like not just be a complete bomb thrower.
Yeah.
No, not sure, that's
mean.
fine.
Yeah,
but
bomb
any of
thrower
it's
is
just complete fucking bomb thrower. And then like, right, so up until it got, I don't even know if it came back, but it got banned a few months ago or something. Something happened. Finally.
It got quarantined. It
But
didn't get
dude,
banned.
I think I visited it last time probably February this year. Dude, nothing but shit posts. And every comment,
man.
just like you lose a little part of your soul, dude.
Yeah. No, I was there
And
a few days ago.
it's so bad that I honestly think a lot of it is just trolling.
No, see, this is where we fundamentally disagree because you think a lot of them are trolls.
I think a lot of them are. I think there's a good amount of them that are swimming in there who are actually like have those ideas.
But here's the thing:
like,
does a person who trolls with that type of rhetoric, do they find success if nobody agrees with what they're saying? Of course they don't. People agree with what they're saying. So if you're saying that, like, some of these people are Russian bots and they're just like parroting all of these bullshit talking points and tired arguments,
no, it's not 100%.
It only works because people
I got you.
like to hear those things. These are real attitudes that exist.
Well, here's my concerns with the subreddit for something like Donald Trump and the Donald.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think those moderators give a shit if you're a bot or not. They're probably vetting people who support or don't the president.
Oh, 100%.
They don't actually care about moderating in a responsible way online,
Right.
which is make sure these are just real people. They don't give a fuck. So, like, who knows? Now, I'm with you, dude. There's more people than I am comfortable admitting, and I've always said this after we have this discussion. There are more people than I am comfortable admitting and will continue to not admit exist that like feel that way and are despicable. But here's the thing.
Yeah, but
I feel like when I hang on really quickly,
wars.
and I'll let you respond to this. I want you to respond to this. When I say trolling in that sense, I almost agree. I almost like tie it also to like these are probably real people that exist in real life and type some shit on the internet every day that they don't actually do in real life.
Right.
So at what point is it like, okay, maybe that's their inner monologue, but they don't do it in real life? Yeah. Right.
Here's my thing is I think a lot of these people are generally good people. They've gotten caught up in this black hole of culture war online. There's a lot of the times where you see like SJWs referenced, and it's just like, what world do you live in? That's not to say that these people don't exist that you're fighting against, but there's such a fringe, and like just participating in the culture war is the thing that builds both of those sides up because they just love to hate each other. It's like you're not really getting anything done. It's weird. It's this weird form of participation.
I know I've shared this before, but I love doing it. And I'm going to do it again. I'm not advocating for Vice, but like I remember seeing this video on YouTube a few years ago. They interviewed an incel.
Okay. Oh, no.
And he was like this incel that's like just like in online communities and literally only lived in his room.
Yeah.
Didn't do nothing except like go get food and like these other things, but didn't interact in the real world.
Yeah.
And it kind of, I will never forget watching that video. It's not because of the video. The video was done well, but it's not necessarily because of the video. It's because what hit me in that moment was like this idea that in the past, in the pre-internet era, if you were a shut-in, just human instinct would just drive you to get out and like socialize, and like that
Oh, right.
forcible nature
Right.
could. And I didn't study this shit. I'm not trying to get too deep, but like I feel like, to be fair, I feel like that forcible nature was a good thing and had a positive effect as far as like building empathy and building community and understanding. And
Mm-hmm.
obviously there was racism and all these things. I'm not saying like just,
No,
but
I
I
get
just
what
feel
you
like
mean,
in
though.
general for
You
like,
have to
yeah,
physically interact with.
and then you
And
watch
here's.
this video of this kid who doesn't ever leave his room, can get food ordered, literally
Yeah.
says he wakes up, smokes cigs, and sits in a chair all day long while he just talks to other
Yes.
incels on the computer. And then,
Yeah.
and I'm sure, it sounds like you've seen this video, and I'm
I
sure we all have.
have.
And then casually talks about how on a monthly I don't know if it was weekly or not a weekly, that's probably too much, but on like a monthly basis, they'll lose people because they kill
Yep.
themselves. And I'm just like, what?
Yeah.
Like, this
It's
just watching a segment like that, I had alarm bells go off that were much bigger than the segment. So, just ooh.
Well, it's interesting, and this is something that I feel like we maybe could make a pod about. But when you are forced to go out and interact with society, obviously you are greeted with a whole host of people with different ideas. When you are able to selectively choose people who participate in the ideas you're participating in, and obviously this is just like echo chambers, but I think it's more impactful than we realize, because we just vibe with the ideas that we see online, and then a lot of us are not argumentative when we go out in public, or if we don't go out in public at all. We don't like flesh out our ideas against other people. That's exhausting for us. We just like to be in the realm of where we already hear things that we agree with. It's like it's more than just these strict echo chambers. It's just simply being exposed to some form of socialization online that is something that you already agree with. You don't have to be in an echo chamber to be in an echo chamber. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't have to be somebody who is an incel who just spends all day on the forums. It bleeds out further than that. It's people just on their social media. It's people just reading their news. Like, we have so much choice these days that we get to just refuse to engage with ideas that we don't like. And that's problematic because everybody's wrong about something. I'm wrong about many things, I'm sure. Everybody is wrong about something. And if you're never called out for it, and we can choose not to be called out for it these days, then you stagnate. You don't change. I don't know. I think like these echo chambers are
sure.
they're bigger than we realize. They envelop more of us than we realize.
So I 100% agree with what you said, but I also want to stress like there is still most of it, it's still a projection of human instinct, in the sense that especially in this Vice video, when this incel guy gets caught up in these groups, it's groupthink, and it becomes everybody else is wrong and we're right. So it's still human instinct. Like we've had slavery, and humans have mistreated humans for many years, I think what I worry about specifically with this stuff, and I thought about it while you were talking, is that normally if someone wants to stray outside of what's culturally accepted in most given places on this planet, as far as like taking other people's lives or causing like terrorism or violence, normally that's probably like illegal, or at least not accepted in society. So like that's a barrier. You can't connect to others, you can't plan, you can't do anything too crazy. Well, guess what? Now we have this thing called the internet, and
That's
it
true.
allows small sects to connect extremely easily, and they might be able to plan more coordinated things. And especially in the modern age, as far as like the way warfare is conducted, just a lot of like there's different ways where if you have the knowledge. So, I mean, that's what scares me. I don't know that I ever watch a video of that incel kid and ever worry about like them, like their thought process taking over culture. No, but
but you do worry about those people going out and
I do worry about people who might have more strength now, banding on evil ideals, right, and being more powerful because they can band together, right. And there's powerful weapons now, so If
Yeah.
you're like Breaking Bad, obviously that's making money. But if you're a few of those guys and you get together and you just want to kill a whole bunch of Shia because you're Sunni, you know, chemical warfare is there. You go. It's too easy. So that's the kind of shit we gotta
I
deal
mean, I'm
with. So
always
it's
going to
enough.
defend people doing what they want on the internet, though. Like, I think ultimately it does more
To an
good than it
extent,
does
no doubt.
bad. But we just have to deal
Well,
with what that bad is. Is
yeah,
all.
there's a
Because
balance. That's the debate, of course.
the guy that shot up all those poor folks in El Paso was somebody that was
8chan.
involved in 8chan, who was one of those people who were just like in that crazy, like super extremist, super alarmist type of online groups where that was their echo chamber. That was it. The end of the world is imminent, and they're convinced of it, and now they buy a gun and they go out and they shoot up a bunch of Hispanics because the United States is being culturally invaded or some bullshit along those lines. It's like, what world do you actually think that we live in? Like, to some extent, the things maybe, like some of the things you're saying, you have this weird perception of the world that is just so far detached from reality. It's crazy. It's crazy, man.
And you're kind of talking about like where the debate comes in for any given subject. Like I wish we existed in a society where we had the devastating things that we had happen over the weekend, and we could have whatever people who are in power come together and say, okay, well, we both at least agree on the general premise that like guns there should be rights to guns to a certain extent. There should be rights to like hunting, all these things. And we both agree that like we have to do something because 30 people just fucking died. And I wish we lived in a society where, and let's use ours as an example, where Republicans, Dems come immediately together and sit down and say, fucking people died. Okay, like let's have some spines here. Let's sit down. Let's knock out all the things we agree on, right? Like, and I think if you got them sitting down and you remove the money, obviously like NRA and like special interests, like just like sit down and be like, okay, well, we know that we want to let people hunt. We know that there are certain levels, there's levels to guns, right? And we know that there's a hunting level, and we all agree we want that. But we all are here because people fucking died. So like, where can we fall here? And that's where the push and pull goes, obviously, all the time. And I wish that we could do that, but we've gotten to a point where
honest conversation is impossible.
Well, I think you can make money also on being sensational to a certain extent too. So I wouldn't. I would also. I would also put
sensational.
I would also put blame on just like, well, right wing is what it is today, but in 10 years is it going to be more right wing? And on the same token, like left wing is what it is now, but is it going to be even more like? Like just to give views and it's, you know what I'm saying, attention. Like there's always a status quo, but I mean with the internet, like when you have such a transformational thing, and I like how we came all the way back to the beginning discussion. When you have such a transformational thing, like all bets are off.
Yeah. Like, we are literally forging
we don't know what's going
ground.
To happen. Right. We don't know
at neck break speeds.
Right. I'm reading fucking articles and I'm sure it's because Musk likes to put on a show and he's good at it. But like I've been reading articles where he's just like, "Oh, we're breaking ground on like connecting computers to people's minds and shit." And I'm like, Jesus fucking Christ! Like, holy.
Well, did you see Biden when he was at one campaign stop talked about how like if he was elected president, they're gonna end cancer in his administration. And then, like, less than a week later, Trump at one of his rallies was like, we're going to cure AIDS and we're going to cure cancer.
See, this is like, such... What are we
doing?
Come on, yo. No, when you say shit like that...
Stop.
When you say shit like that...
Just talk real things.
It's shit like that that makes me think that the three of us would never... are never actually going to... The three... Me, you, and Caleb...
Oh, we could do it, dude.
Think in very different ways where we would probably run under, like, who knows what the fuck, like, ideology or ticket. But we would all fail because we would all be too honest. None of us can go in front of a microphone and promise that we're going to cure cancer because we can't do shit that we know that is just a dumb... Like, I'd get up in there, I'd be like, we're gonna like fucking sit down with experts and we're gonna figure out where we can put more money and like keep the ball rolling and
Right.
maybe kick it faster, push it downhill, something. But like you can't get up there and be like, we're gonna cure cancer. Like, what are you doing? Like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, that's so stupid.
Yeah, I understand to
You know what I
set.
saw?
You have
You know
to
what
set lofty goals, to inspire like dreams and big
Yeah.
things. But man, come on, it just feels like
Let me say,
pandering. You can't
let,
guarantee that. Go fuck yourself.
dude, I saw this thing this week that was so funny.
All right, we got to wrap this up by the way in the next
Last
couple.
thing,
Yeah,
and
go
let's see
ahead.
if you have
Go
a
ahead.
reaction to it. Hilarious, dude. Trump tweets this week, "I'm the least racist person in the world." And that's whatever. No. I mean, that's stupid, obviously. But like, no, that's what it is. No big deal. He says that shit all the time. He's always the least or the best or the whatever.
Surely
The
a
fuck.
baby is less racist than you.
It's his
Sure.
it's his support for the argument. That's insane. He said it's because unemployment is the lowest it's ever been.
For what? Black
For blacks,
African
and
Americans. Yeah, sure.
So it's not because of what he said. That's very Trumpy in the first part. That's what it is. He follows it up with saying it's because
Fuck me, dude. That's like the equivalent.
So because other people make decisions.
That's like the equivalent of somebody being like, "No, I'm not racist because my cousin has a husband." It's like, come on, dude. That's not how that
I don't
fucking
even-
works.
Right.
What do you mean? That's not a
I'm at a point with my feelings and the way I react to to stuff he does, where like I don't care. That was just especially like funny. I just thought that was funny. Like it doesn't even make me more worried or this or that. I already know what I know about him. You know what I'm saying? It was just a good chuckle. That's all.
It was just a good chuckle.
I was like, that's funny. That's quite funny.
Well, good on him.
Just make sure people have jobs.
Because if that's what he says and he's not, then I'm good for that. I would like.
All
a
right, you gotta go
president
work.
who's not racist.
Get out of here.
It's not work. It's a work party. I'm gonna go take a shower real quick, but yeah, we can end this.
Oh, all right. Appreciate your time.
No, yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
It's been good. I'm really looking forward to this one article though, and I'm hoping that next week we can snag Caleb. So look forward. Hey, you reliable viewers out there, tune in next week for a fucking Rick Rollin' time. You like?
Or we could all just meet. Or wow, you've worked so damn much. Once you get a normal schedule.